Ahoy, crypto pirates. Welcome to your Discourse Syndicate. Captain RG3 steering the ship tonight for you guys, waiting for DC Crypto to show up. I just got off the phone with him not more than 30 minutes ago, so I don't know where the hell he is. Mr. Late Coin, as always, Late Coin malarkey. Anyway, that's him. He'll be here when he gets here. We're not going to sweat it. We will steer the ship without him. How's everybody doing? How's all the Hexicans? Let me say hey to the chat room. Let's see who's in there. First of all, we got a really freaking bitchin' show tonight. So tonight's our 90th episode, and that's just of our DS episodes, not the FN Hangout, not Mornings with Kinetics, Discourse Syndicate Mornings with Kinetics, but this is our 90th episode of just weekday DS. We have changed the format. We've been bringing guests on and talked into the crypto community, the financial community, the music community, you name it. Whoever wants to come in and talk Hex with us or talk crypto or finance or their show or whatever they're doing, that's what we're doing. We're bringing them in and we're introducing them to the Hexicans and letting them know who we are, what we're about, and what we're trying to do here for the crypto community in general, and that we're not all bad guys. We're not a bunch of scammers like they thought. Anyway, let me say hey to the chat. First of all, hey to all the cutthroats out there. Northernmost Hexer, Crypto King. So I want to throw a shout out to Crypto King because he is our Dana White of Discourse Syndicate. He is out there running in the chat rooms, talking to people, talking to producers, talking to publicists and everybody else, trying to get folks on the show. We've got some really cool guests coming up. This is going to be awesome. We're excited to have Crypto King. So shout out to him again for all the hard work he does. Hex Squadron, Balliot Brand. Hey, everybody watch Balliot Brand stream on YouTube too. Don't forget about that Hexican there. David Morales. Always good to see you in the chat, bro. Mr. Party Animal. You guys want to live vicariously through somebody? Go watch David Morales's. I would like to see if he's got an Instagram. He might. There might be some. He's like the Dan Belzerian of Hex, and of course, then we have our own Belzerian, the Gambler. But anyway, Pabalaba, welcome. Identity Block, good to have you in, bro. Hex Squadron already said hey to you. And who else we got in there? That's about all of the normals. Oh, Versology's in there. My man, my homeboy. Hexadente. Crypty Girl. Look at Crypty Girl in the house. Right on. Good having you. Good having you. Serena. Oh, the OGest of OG Hexicans is in the chat room, ladies and gentlemen. Serena and Brennan. Oh, what's up, dude? You want to see some cool tweets? Follow Brennan on the Twitters. Who dat? How do you do? Old Man Hex and Hexarican. Welcome, everybody. Oh, Theta chat was frozen. Oh no. Well, Theta is our new platform. We're just getting things started over there. We will have to see what's going on. We'll have to discuss that with the Thetans. Find out what's happened. Hey, Day 43 OG over there on the D Lives, man. And we've got. I'm looking at the Twitter chat there too. Zombie Survival, Internet Lurker. What's up, guys? What's up? Welcome, everybody. Tonight, we're going to have an awesome show. We have a gentleman coming on. He came on the FN Hangout. So anybody who is willing to come from outside the crypto community and join DS on a Friday night when we open up the stream, my hat's off to you because that shows some cojones. I think maybe I really don't think we really should be as intimidating as people say we are. They say, oh, we're attacking people all the time. And, we got this maximalist show here. And that is further from the truth than it could be, because we've always been welcoming folks with open arms and willing to discuss anything, as long as it's a civil conversation. We've seen a lot of uncivil conversations out there. So, in the beginning, we were like eating shit and barking at the moon and talking to ourselves about the people that were fudding us or calling us scammers or talking shit about Richard. So I get it. In the beginning, we were a little bit, a little upset about all that stuff. So we were a little harsh in the beginning, but we weren't harsh towards anybody directly, just people that we were blasting on Twitter, or we were blasting on, any of the social media that were out there talking crap about us. So, but that's not in general. That's not how we want to treat the crypto community, the financial community, the community in large, period. We want to educate people about what we got, because we got our hands on something that's very, very special, and it's going to be very, very special moving into the future. It's proven itself, and now it's starting to get out, and people are starting to know about it. So tonight we have he has his own show on, if you haven't seen it yet, if you go to YouTube, if you go to the producer, he's on Twitter as producer CJ1, and his show is the oh gosh, I'm gonna let him say it, because now I forgot the name of the show. It's Rogue News. Rogue News is the name of the show, I believe. Yep, it's Rogue News. Rogue News, and they've got a really cool show. You want to crawl down some rabbit holes and with some red pill shit, and go check them out. So, without any further ado, I'm going to bring him up. This is CJ, everybody. How's it going, bro?
What's up, brother? Good to be here. You got me pumped up listening to that music in your intro, man. That's pretty kick ass. I'm like,
Thanks,
damn, I got to step up my game. Our intros are weak.
I'm an old rocker, man. So like, I got to have something to pump me up, man. I need those jams. And I found this kid. His name is Nils, the Nils One. And he's on YouTube, and he puts all that stuff up there as Creative Commons. So we just grab it and we promote him all the time, because he just comes out with some cool stuff. It's all video game stuff. He takes video game music and rocks to it.
Nice. Well, I'm a closet gamer, so that I fit right into that crowd. You know what I'm saying? So, and if you're not gaming with loud music behind you, there's something wrong with you.
I think we're all closet gamers, right? I mean, we either recovering gamers or closet gamers, right?
Exactly. Well, no, I'm excited to be here tonight. Excited to be with your viewers, and then appreciate the invite. So, awesome. I enjoyed my the last show. I was here hanging out with you guys. Really cool group of guys hanging out, chilling out, all that kind of good stuff. So let's rock this out, man. I'm ready.
So let's get on common ground here first, and then we can go over some questions about Hex and stuff. But tell me about your background, what your show's about, what you do out there in the crypto community, or in the financial world. I know, because your show is not just directed around the crypto community. I know that's just a piece of it. So you want to give us a little bit of background on you and your show?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah, I spent way too long in corporate America world. I'm not sure why I waited so long to get out of that environment, but nearly 25 years in corporate America, in the pharmaceutical industry, as well as banking and banking and finance. So kind of made that shift from one pharmaceutical company, and then went into sleep with the devil with JP Morgan Chase for a while. So but along the way, and again, I think at some point, we like to use the term red pilled. And, through that process, I started learning about different healing, and having lost family members to cancer. And going through that, I really started evolving and doing research on my own, finding out about the powers of medicinal cannabis, the healing powers. And so Rogue was there at that time. And I was producing for V, the Guerrilla Economist. He was on Freedom Slips Radio. It was a Friday night broadcast. And always had a hobby of doing this live streaming and, YouTube and all that kind of good stuff. And, he reached out and said, hey, you know what? Why don't we do a YouTube channel? And this was several years ago. And long story short, I went from being behind stage into one time jumping on a main stage doing this, and kind of took off from there. So here we are now. I think we're like 5 years later, at least in terms of, our Rogue News platform. It was previously Rogue Money. Rogue Money has always been on the forefront in terms of really trying to uncover, what's happening in terms of the paradigm shift that we are at this exact moment. If you go back to previous Rogue broadcast, we have been discussing the economic reset, disruption to the current monetary system, for years. In fact, if you go back and look at the early interviews that we did several years ago, Roger Ver was one of our first interviews that we had coming on and talking at that point about cryptocurrency. So long story short, yeah, that's my background. I love producing content, solutions-based content to help people. And I think anything that we can do to unite and disrupt the banking cartels, the current financial model, and then also the paradigm shift that's occurring right now, it's just important. And for what you guys are doing with Hex in terms of the opportunity that's there for early adapters to come in and take advantage of that opportunity, brother, I support anything that's there to help people and really to get your money. Because we're not going to change anything until we start creating and playing with our own rules, right? As long as we're all still maintained to the current financial system, if we're all still plugged into the same left-right paradigm that's there here in the United States, nothing is going to change. So anything that we can do to disrupt those things, the better that we're going to be able to achieve our goal as far as humanity and reaching a higher level consciousness to help one another.
Yeah. No, bro, this black and white thing, this or that thing, this no gray area thing, no wiggle room for anybody has really got to stop. It's not productive. It's created nothing but riff and problems and issues families aren't talking to one another right now. It's so bad. It's never been this bad. I'm 53 years old. And I put that out there all the time because I want everybody to know I've been through some cycles, man. I've been through some economic cycles, and I've seen social cycles. I've seen things come and go a couple of times, and there's nothing new under the sun. Everything just keeps coming around and going around, coming around and going around, coming around and going around. And it's just been spiraling into this mess that we've got now because of, like you just said, this whole black and white thing. But I'm really interested to talk to you about your 25 years in finance and why cryptocurrency and why you feel like something like Hex is important. So that's going to be a cool box to open up and talk to you about, because that's the kind of thing that people need to hear from somebody like yourself is like, well, why are you looking at Hex? Finance. So what does Hex mean to you as far as finance goes? So we're going to get into that in a second. Let me bring up Mr. Latecoin here, my buddy, DC Crypto. What's happening?
Nothing, man. Just watching the markets grow, man.
Yeah. What happened? What's your excuse tonight?
Oh, I was just
telling me you were smashing or something. At least give me a
No, the good old Google machine decided to log me out of the account to log into this. So that's it. I wish it was something more awesome than that, but yeah.
I'll live vicariously through my own imagination then. How's that sound? Okay. Right on, bro.
It's really nice to talk to you, man.
Nice to meet you as well, bro. Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, Dolomite, thanks for the super chat there, bro. Dropping it down. Thank you, man. Thank you. What did he say here? Let's see if he had something to say. I'm here too, Captain. Okay. Thanks, Dolomite. Appreciate you, bro. So DC, I'm sure you heard, CJ here has a show called Rogue News and he's all about, disruptive finance, disruptive technology, anything that's going to go out there and help people to understand a better place to be. And it was kind of like a conversation that you and I have had recently about, there not being any gray area and us taking control of things. But I'm thinking that there is a process in which we need to do this. And because of the cycle that's happening right now, we have to figure out how we're going to fit in that cycle, because it's obvious that we are not going to be able to do things like, bum rush the Capitol and change things. That's just going to get people in trouble. It's just going to create chaos. We can't be burning down buildings anywhere. We can't be running around the streets. We have to do things. We have to try and legislate ourselves into this somehow. And I know that's a horrible word for everybody. But I think that, the problem is there's too much money in politics and the people can't make the decisions, and the powers that be, the complexes, the industrial complexes are what's, kind of ruling the system. And so, we're in that spot right now, and we've got to figure out how we're going to navigate this next storm.
Right. I mean, and the best way I can sort of see, what I feel like kind of exposed a little bit of this, at least to the mainstream, was finally that whole thing with GameStop and everything. I do feel like it was a little bit coerced, over time. It was kind of pushed on to a lot of people. And I don't think most people had, at least most of Wall Street did not have enough money to actually pump that up as much as it did. It was other essentially like hedge funds that kind of latched on towards the tail end of it to pump it up really. But essentially we've got to strike back at these guys through finance, essentially, right? And we've essentially created, and we're funding, by us buying coins, we're funding a different economic system. Obviously, you still end up having the same rules where, like, somebody who owns the most amount of coins still has a lot of power, but you have sort of a thing where normal people are able to get into tokens and a coin like Hex and be able to kind of just flip the whole economic system on its head, and then use that economic energy to then legislate things and put things into action. Because if money is the only way they want to talk, then let's talk money. And push things. We can push with the money we end up generating from cryptocurrencies. We can fund our own super PACs or fund any, go onto K Street and with our own money, with our own.
You think you're going to be able to get consensus from crypto people though? I mean, the tribes we have.
Well, eventually, I think at least I don't know. At least what I'm starting to see is like right now, yeah, we are divided right now. We really are. I mean, truly, we are. I mean, there should not be such a thing. Like a maximalist should not exist, but they do. Right.
That's the weirdest thing.
It's the weirdest thing. We have literally people that are only one coin, right? But we're like, people forget that we're, it did start with Bitcoin, but now we're on Ethereum and we're a coin on top of Ethereum. Right. So it's kind of and most coins that are in cryptocurrencies right now are mostly on top of Ethereum. Right. And now there's things called poke. So it's this whole thing, this whole notion of like, it's just like, it's my coin, it's my tribe. We should all be helping each other out. Because I remember when I got into cryptocurrency, it was about kumbaya, and it was supposed to be like a libertarian thing, a way to free ourselves. And then now it's starting to become like we're making these little tribes, and it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, CJ?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, I think it's time, and we've been working, and we need to establish and build a lot more bridges right now. And I think that we have a very unique opportunity as we're navigating through whatever you want to deem it, whatever you want to call it, in regards to the economic reset that's in the environment. But if you look at most things, if you look at the corruption that's involved, not only from the political landscape, from the banking finance landscape, in terms of the wealth extraction that has occurred the past decade, the past 12 years, where literally the middle class in America is being wiped out. Yeah. But yet at the same time, you see the top 1%, you see the top 1% in their wealth grow by astronomical numbers. The only way that we can disrupt the current system is through the dollar. And the dollar for far too long has been weaponized, not only around the globe in terms of the influence, in terms of what we do with the hegemony of the United States, but also our citizens too. Everything from taxation to the monetary system that's printing endless amounts of cash out there. Right. Oh, and by the way, at the same time, we recklessly bought interest rates, all the way down to near zero, where literally having a traditional checking and savings account, would pay, an interest, where now banks make millions of dollars off of penalties, late charges, fees. So again, the wealth extraction and unfortunately the middle class and the lower class, the working poor have really struggled. And that's why we have to understand the power that cryptocurrencies, the power that Hex can bring to humanity to break free of those chains. So until we disrupt the current system, and I know I'm going to say that like a broken record tonight, until we realize that, then the sooner off we can be. The problem is that most people don't understand. It's funny to go back and watch the movie The Matrix, right? You go back and watch the movie The Matrix, and how many people are so happy just to be plugged into the current system. They're happy to watch their sports teams on TV. They're happy that they're able to go out and purchase their next whatever it is. But it's unfortunate that until it really hits the individual, most people don't really get concerned or understand the system and what's breaking down. So we don't have to be mad at them. We don't have to call them ignorant. We don't have to call them stupid or anything like that. It's just a matter of getting them to to wake up in terms of what's reality. And again, that falls back to the management of our currency. And I think through this unique time, even though COVID brought a whole new system that's evolving in terms of their attempt to really enslave humanity into whatever system they're going to be changing out, we can break free of those things. We have a very unique opportunity at this time. And it may never happen ever again. But if we can work together in groups and say, hey, you know what, we're not going to yell about whatever crypto you're doing, if you're gold or silver bug, but let's reach a consensus that if we work together to disrupt the current economic model, we can create the sea wave of change that needs to occur in our country, and it's long overdue.
No, I mean, definitely. I mean, if you really look at like the one way I kind of like started cracking because people have this shit like I guess we're going off the Matrix analogy. People, they took the blue pill or they're still plugged in pretty much, and the one way I sort of get them to sort of just start opening their mind a little bit is just like, hey, dude, do you remember 5 years ago how much we paid for this? Yeah, it was this much. How much is it today? It's this much. Oh, what? Wait a minute. And then you start exposing just little stuff too. Like I even talked to like even like some teenagers that were kids when I knew them, is like, hey, do you remember how much you used to pay for a bag of chips? Yeah, $1. What's that same? What's it cost? Like $1.80.
Yeah, my dad, when I was young, I remember this like the back of my hand, used to send me on my bike to the Super Test gas station to buy him a pack of Marlboro for 50 cents. And what's a pack of, I'm showing my age here, but what's a pack of Marlboro now? Like $6, seven.
I used to buy them. I used to buy them for that much.
He used to send me with a dime. We used to have this candy store. It was called, I think it was called the 5 and Dime. I can't remember, but you used to be able to go there with literally like a quarter and walk out with like a whole bag full of individual candies. They had these 35 or 40 different trays, and you could walk in with $1 and, pick out your whole bag full. And now you look at things and that it's a perfect example of the culture shift that occurred through that time period where, before, in terms of the family, the household family, and you can define that however you want. I have no problems with that. But at the same time, an honest day work was paid an honest day wages that could, for the most part, put a roof over the head. And it was disrupting the family that occurred where it really started dividing out, where now both households had to work to pay for things. And, the quality of life back then was probably a lot different than what it is now. So you nailed it in terms of talking about the hidden inflation that's occurred, and it's still happening. Most people don't realize that, that 16-ounce bags of chips that you used to buy for $1.99, they understand that they're locked in terms of that price point. So what they do is they just start reducing the package size. They go that from $1.99 now it's 12 ounces instead. Next year it's going to be 10 ounces because they don't want to affect the price point. They'll just affect the size of the good. Even your loaf of bread, if you look at a loaf of bread and the size of the bread that used to be in there, everything is kind of shrinking. Well, because again, they're focused on the price point, and it's kind of hidden inflation that's occurring.
Yeah.
It's
it's been getting worse and worse and worse for the working guy for years and years. Our expendable income has become next to nothing. I remember my dad. We didn't have a lot. We weren't wealthy. We were poor, but I mean, we still lived a decent life. He worked one job and he didn't work, overtime or too much. And we survived and had a house. And here in Southern California, you got to have 2 jobs, a business. Everybody's got to be working in order to have a house out here. I mean, it's just, if it's not easy especially like this day and age, for a young guy in his 20s, 30s to try and get himself a house and a family going. It's like, man, I don't know if I can afford to do that,
I mean, pretty much anywhere in LA, isn't it like over $800,000 just for a starter home if you're lucky?
well, I mean, out in the suburbs and everything, you have 500,000-600,000. But yeah, I mean, out there, they're definitely 700,000-800,000. But I mean, those are pretty nice houses too.
Oh well, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, but I'm just kind of going off the prices around here and stuff. Would just
well, yeah, you're up in that's even worse up there, man, where you're at. That's closer to Silicon Valley and all that, you know. Oh, well, we got us a little candle, a little DS pump going on Hex right now. Nice little candle there on the chart.
There's also something really interesting that I don't know if you heard of Michael Saylor. He's like pretty much the guy that got what's his name, Elon Musk to buy a $1.5 billion Bitcoin on Tesla.
Yeah,
which is why we've gotten the pump today, and it's also pumping that. I love stuff like that because it gets more people into crypto. First, they come in through that. Then they learn about Ethereum, and then they start trickling into the rest of the other communities and stuff. So I'm always very happy when things like this happen. But he said something really important that sure, let's just say there are parts of the country where the prices of the homes have actually stayed the same or only gone up slightly, and the technology like TVs and stuff and cars, have roughly stayed the same like they got up in prices, but it's not too drastic. It's only like college and stuff. But something that he said that was really important: the assets that you actually truly want keep going up like crazy. So it's like college, right? Like people want to send their it's a promise. It's almost like I want to give my child a leg up on everyone else. So I send them to college, and that's just been skyrocketing. Obviously, the government's been subsidizing it, obviously, right? And then you can't default on it. So they've just been lending to anybody, really. But he said something really interesting. He said back in 2008 and 9, you could buy $1 million bond, and that bond would generate you about a $50,000 income a year. That same bond today costs $10 million for the $50,000 of income.
That's ridiculous.
That's how insane the markets are right now.
Yeah, there's no value, and you may as well put your money under your pillows.
Right.
It's almost better there actually, because you can spend it and it's not locked up anywhere, and you can't get to it, and it's losing value. And that candle is growing. By the way, the candle is growing. It's getting bigger and bigger. So I understand this more so than anyone, I think, because I was of the generation. So the greatest generation raised my parents. The generation of World War II. All of the FDR people, all the people that built the country, built the national parks, and did all of those things. That greatest generation they talk about. I was raised by the people that were raised by them, and those folks had pension plans and savings accounts and bonds and all of those things. That's who I was taught finance by. That's who I was taught how to manage your money by. And we still had checkbooks and savings accounts where you literally wrote your balance in your savings account. You didn't have no electronic anything. There wasn't even an electronic receipt given to you. It was all wrote down they would stamp your book and all that. So living like that, and then watching everything morph into what it has become. I'm a blue collar worker. I'm a millwright by trade. So I worked 30 years plus in the industry. And so I watched my spending money and the value of my spending dollar go down and down and down as I tried to keep up and get raises and work harder and move to a higher position and become a foreman and then become a superintendent and all those things that I had to do to make more money. The higher and higher I got, it seemed like the less and less and less the money that I was getting was purchasing. I was losing more vacation time because I couldn't afford to go on vacation. I was cashing that in at the end of the year so that we can, pay the taxes on the mortgage and all that kind of crap, so I was not taking time off, and I watched it just get worse and worse and worse until here we are today. It's like, I have to have a side business and work my ass off just to keep the family a roof over their heads and pay the bills. And we don't live an extravagant lifestyle. Cars, the dogs, the kids. We don't go on big vacations, and so my life has become, just managing and maintaining, a family unit, and it's like the fun has been taken out of of life. And oh my gosh, that candle is fucking blowing up, guys. We're having a big pump right now.
It must be our live stream.
It's got to be. I think we are at 1.1. Yeah, it's a big candle. Nice. Biggest one I've seen in a while. So anyway, yeah, I've actually experienced that. That's been my life experience, is just watching all of my savings tools, all of my retirement tools just turn into dust. And when crypto came around, I was like, okay, maybe crypto is the thing, because when I first got in, it was like, the Bitcoin, nobody knew what it really was. Is it this? Is it that? Then we saw the value. We saw the speculation tool that it was, the store of value, the digital gold. And then when you crawl into that rabbit hole and you are somebody who thinks like a red pillar, or of the powers that be that are screwing everything up, and you just want to stick it to them, and you see that Bitcoin is the perfect thing, or that cryptocurrencies are the perfect thing to do that, the perfect tool to disrupt finance, then, you crawl into that and you're like, okay, and you have all this ideology that, yeah, I'm going to get into crypto and fuck the banks, and then you realize that it's a fucking PT Barnum circus in here for the last few years. And you kind of lose hope in what it could be. But then along comes Hex, and you finally get a crypto that's willing to put itself out there and do what cryptocurrencies was supposed to do. And that's what I'm seeing now. I actually see Hex. Now, I wouldn't say that I would have started from day one and told everybody, hey, Hex is a great place to like start a retirement fund. But today, seeing what Hex is today, that's exactly what type of a tool Hex is. It's like a retirement fund pool. It's the perfect place to dollar cost yourself into and create, wealth and income for the future.
No, exactly, man.
Well, being, being tied into the banking sector for long enough, I got to deal with a lot of customers who would deal traditionally in certificates of deposit and hold quite a bit of funds in those. And it was always a challenge when they would come in to renew their CDs and to see the initial rate that they were given back then. And as a manager, you almost you couldn't even match the rate, the interest rate they were given back at that time period. And if you wanted to, you had to appeal, to the executive office to say, hey, look, we want to at least match the rate that they were given, 5-10 years ago on that CD. And a lot of the times they would come back and say no. And so the ideal that banks are watching out for their customers is completely dysfunctional. They're completely not. And most people ask the question why, and most people don't understand what happened to retail banking and what caused that major shift. And that major shift occurred because that they repealed an act called the Glass-Steagall. And the Glass-Steagall Act basically would separate retail banking from investment banking. And literally when that was revoked, and I believe it was Bill Clinton, it allowed retail banks to merge and operate as also investment banks. And so from that perspective, you had a lot of financial institutions that went into risky type assets, risky type investments. And I was in the banking sector during the housing meltdown. Like literally, I witnessed people walking in and dropping the keys to their home in the office and saying, "Here are the keys to the house. I'm walking away from it." And that was reality. That's not a myth. Most people hear that and say, "Are you serious?" I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." But through that process, and what got me so concerned and frustrated with the entire banking climate was also witnessing the big banking and the financial institutions get away with rigging the markets, with everything from the London whale that occurred from JP Morgan, where literally you had the unjust system in America that would basically slap the wrist of these banks, charge them this hefty fine that probably rolled back into some coffers that they used for whatever nefarious activities. And these bankers never saw any jail time. It was like, you imagine if you or I did something like that, where we rigged a market and we manipulated the pricing, something to the tunes of millions of dollars. Boy, they would come down on us so fast. So I remember the first time even meeting Jamie Dimon and wondering why this guy in reality probably should have been in prison for everything that was exposed from the mortgage crisis and everything. JP Morgan was one of the leading causes of that, and we know that for a fact due to a whistleblower. She was brave enough to come forth and say, she's pointed out all these inconsistencies and saying, why are we buying all this mortgage debt, all these bad things? And she was told, don't look at that anymore. Don't worry about it. We're gonna do that. And where are those financial institutions? They're still receiving the billions of dollars in bailouts at the expense of the American taxpayer. So our only way of fighting
$1 trillion.
Our only way of fighting back against that is participating in programs like HEX and participating in other cryptocurrencies to disrupt. I mean, the sooner that we can get our dollars out of the traditional banking system, the better off that we'll all be. And that takes that power away from the central planners. And again, I know that, most people that maybe sound foreign, but maybe you're not listening to the right podcast. Maybe you need to jump over to Rogue News and some other people that have been talking about this for a long length of time now. This isn't something that happened overnight. Now, we did get distracted a little bit with the whole political thing. I think everybody did there for a minute. But let's come to the realization that
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's two sides of the same coin. It really is.
I mean, you just said right now, that, it was Clinton that was in one of the people that operated in removing Glass-Steagall. And he didn't do that just because he wanted to do it. He did that because moneyed interests forced their hands to make sure that was done. People who put these folks in office, K Street, it's just, they write legislation down there. When you go down to K Street, legislation is written there and it's handed to those Congress people. It's handed to those senators. And that's what they're supposed to put in place, because if they don't, then they're going to get primaried and they're not going to be out of it. They're going to be out of a job. So those guys have got to go down there, pick up that paper, bring it back to their institution, rally everybody around it and say, this is what we're going to do because this is where the money's coming from. And then that's the laws that we all have to suffer with. And the more and more money that's involved, with whatever industry it might be, the easier and easier it is for them to get the laws put into their favor, and we don't
you nailed
have
it, man. Yeah, you nailed it. Exactly. Yeah, you nailed it. That's exactly, so true. Look at how through this process, and this is what really frustrates me. If you look at through COVID, when literally there were the food lines at some of these food pantries were lined up for miles, and you see Main Street, you see the working poor who literally can't even put food on their table. Yep. When there was an opportunity there prior to the change of guard between the previous administration to the new administration, they had legislation out there to help the American people, to help Main Street. And what did they do through that time period? They politicized it because they didn't want to. They held it because they didn't want to be perceived as a political score or political win for everyone. And who paid for that?
The hungry people.
The hungry people. Absolutely. So, and again, I say these things because I think it's important, no matter where you are, whether you're finally realizing this and saying, hey, you know what, maybe I do need to put my dollar, my fiat currency into HEX, or maybe I need to put that into some other, do it now. Don't wait for this economic storm that's brewing to happen and catch you, or more importantly, be caught up with the new move to digital currency in terms of a Fed controlled digital currency, because that's what they want. Fed coin is a reality. They have already built this system, what they plan on evolving, humanity to, and it's going to be based upon this kind of a social media platforms, social management platforms that you see with other countries, where guess what, you have to have your bank account will no longer be through a banks. The Fed, if they had their choice, they would get rid of all banks altogether, because they pretty much are the ones that are propping up all the banks. Yeah. They want to actually have retail customers, where the Fed creates that. You can go to the website, and I think it's called Fed Now. Google Fed Now and look that up, and you will see, well, the Fed already has this program in place where every American will be issued a Fed Now account. And that Fed Now account will feed your payment system of what you're given in terms of digital currency. And guess what? If you don't play by the rules, or maybe you do a social media post that is contrary to government or to what they want you to believe your control program, then guess what? They shut off your stream. So the ultimate goal and their capture of is, and I don't say this lightly, is enslavement.
Yeah.
It's a new form of slavery that's occurring right now, and I hope that everyone does their research, does their due diligence. You're happy to go fact check me. I welcome that. I welcome discourse in terms of people arguing or people stating different things. So, and again, I think that the opportunity that we have here is getting more people to wake up to what's happening, getting more people to buy into solutions like Hex that can truly help people through the navigating of the current system that we're in, because it's changing and there's nothing that's going to stop it.
Definitely. Let's see, DST.
Teamed up with Rogue News. So there's Crypto King. He's the one out there. They brought you over to us. We got some. That's yen. We got some yen. All right. What does that make?
Thank you, Crypto King. Appreciate that. And also he's
Thanks,
supported and purchased some of the CBD products that my company manufactures, and so I appreciate him pumping those up sometimes the way that he does, and we can go to that conversation later
Definitely.
on, but I think
make sure you bring it up because I'm into CBD.
Well, again, just really, disrupting the current healthcare system that's there, because it's literally bankrupting millions of people, the current healthcare system. And, it's not the nurse's fault. It's not necessarily the doctor's fault. It's a controlled mechanism by the controllers that if they can enslave you by, how much you pay for your medical expenses. And and I'm not sure what the purpose of medical insurance anymore, because every time I go, I still end up with a big bill afterwards.
Or the big bill you got to pay every month. I got offered healthcare insurance. I'm like, this is an offer. It looks more like extortion to me. It's insane. It's insane. And it's about preventative maintenance, about what you put in your body and how you take care of yourself. Take care of yourself now before you get older and have to pay. You pay now or else you got to pay later. So putting good things in your body like CBD, the proper vitamins and minerals and food and getting rid of too much drinking and smoking and all that stuff is so important to your health. If you want to live a long life and spend those 15-year stakes, guys, you got to take care of your health and put the right stuff in your body.
Yeah, I'll share a story briefly with you guys in regards to the banking sector, and one of the reasons why I started planning my exit strategy, and it's hard when you're in corporate America and they got you by your salary, they got you by your health care, they got you by your mortgage, your retirement. So like literally my exit strategy from that was probably 3 to 5 years in the working, and one of the things that really kind of upset me was taking a look at how really the banks in general looked at their brick and mortars as a nonprofit solution. In other words, when the retail banking integrated with the investment banking, they really started focusing in on the top 10% of their client base. And they really worked hard to, the perfect case example I can give you is that I think in probably 10 years, probably half the brick and mortar banks that are out there will be closed. Because the brick and mortar banks, they don't want to deal with transaction based anymore. They don't want to deal with walk-in customers anymore who are coming in to deposit their money or to withdraw money. They want to really focus on the top 10% in terms of investment dollars of the customers that they want to attract and the customers that they want to go after. So they started putting all these crazy incentives in place, and I watched witness this firsthand, where literally in terms of our bonus and our initiative plans, they were penalizing us if we did not reduce our customer transactions within the bank. So in other words, they were pushing everybody to online banking, your app banking and depositing your money. And if you didn't basically take down your transactions within your branch, then you were penalized for that in terms of your bonus. Then they did something else to really kind of force the consumers out of the branch. They said, well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and let's close the teller windows. Let's go ahead and just have, 1 or 2 open in general. And because we really don't want the customers coming in the branch for anything unless they're bringing us a large sum of investment money. So when I witnessed all those things, and the late penalty charges. I used to help. I was primarily in urban communities, and whatever reason, maybe my ethnicity, they really targeted and put me in those ethnic communities. Those were the ones that were harmed the most, because they did start closing those branches in the inner city and really targeting where they could keep their branches open in those high profile areas. And most people don't understand that. And it's truly a disgrace, because banks are supposed to operate under it's not the Community Reinvestment Act. I probably would just fell in some type of audit for not knowing which act it was, but it was stating that banks would invest so much in the areas that they operate. I think it was the Community Investment Act.
Investment Act.
And they don't do that. They don't roll the monies into their communities anymore. They're closing branches. They're closing transactions. And
check cashing places are taking over their spots.
Bingo. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Most of the money is being spent on all of these check cashing places and liquor stores in order for somebody to cash their check. The unbanked they get hosed even more. They have less money to spend and they get hosed even more. They can't even bank.
Yeah. And so for your listeners, RG3, the reason why I'm saying this is because I think if we share this information with enough people and they pause for a moment and they say, you know what, damn it, these people are right. Why am I continuously allowing the banks to charge me, even if they're charging you $6 or $12 a month for a checking or savings account? Why should they be charging you for that? Right? Because they're basically getting interest-free money in the overnight lending from the Federal Reserve, but yet they're allowed to charge us a significant amount of interest for loans, for credit cards, for all those things, where literally they're borrowing money for literally nothing and making billions of dollars off of us. So I'm just really kind of fed up in terms of the banking industry in general. Another great example was Wells Fargo. I call them Wells Fraudo. Who was literally nailed because they were pushing new accounts so much that their bankers were opening up fraudulent accounts, or one customer would literally have like 8 checking accounts.
They were selling it like they were selling extra cell phones on your cell phone account. It was like, I remember when I was banking with them, they were like, well, let's get you another account. I'm like, I don't need another fucking account. What are you guys doing? What is this? And they were literally, I think one guy actually got like some kind of fine for opening up a bunch of accounts in people's names.
Oh, they got nailed. They got nailed for it, like a large money. But again, no one goes to jail because it's professional. Yeah,
nobody goes to jail. It's professional.
Nobody goes to jail. And again, I think for the most part of understanding that and
There we go.
Whoa, Hex Cadet just dropped us $100 bill.
Wow.
Like green candles as much as I like amazing Hexicans. Hex Cadet. We have a new winner, guys.
Is that a record?
We have I want to put that lead out. Thank you, Hex Cadet. Thank you very much for supporting the channel and being part of the community. We really appreciate it. And that was very generous of you. True Hexican, obviously. Thank you very much. We have another gentleman who is actually given to this channel. He gave us 5,555,000 hex to give away.
Nice.
And at one time. And then another time he gave Crypty Girl 2.5 million hex, I believe it was. And then another time he gave another guy 1 million hex. I mean, he's given away in today's prices, like $100,000 worth of hex on our channel. Insane. I mean, just awesome. And that's Ski Cat. So he's been our number one donor. But that is definitely Hex Cadet. That is definitely one of our biggest to date here on YouTube for super chats. Thank you. That is our biggest. So back to fuck the banks, right?
Yeah, I mean, just frustrated in general, and this is don't deem this as financial advice, but I know my practices. I keep maybe a couple months worth of different payments in the traditional banks, but other than that, I'm not keeping money in those institutions anymore. It's not serving my purpose, and I encourage everyone to kind of do the same thing and really look for different opportunities similar to Hex to say, hey, even if you start with a small amount and you put that aside each month. It doesn't have to be, waiting for the perfect moment, right? Like people are like, well, I just can't afford to do that or whatever. Start with the small amount and work your way up. Put that aside and say, hey, look, you know what? I'm gonna disrupt the current system in this manner, and that's the only way that we're going to evolve from this. But what we can't do, and I say this quite often on Rogue News, what we cannot afford to do is to allow the people who created this massive economic storm that we are in, the mismanagement of the dollar, the corruption, the basically the demise of the middle class. We cannot let these people be in control of the new economic system because they created the problem to sell you the solution. We cannot do that. We have to use the existing system, the new systems, the disruptive system, Hex, other cryptocurrencies, to say, you know what, we're not going to play your games anymore. We know what you did. You're going to try to make it look like you're heroes coming out of COVID because if you're, in case you haven't been witnessing, there's several states who are literally financially upside down. And so literally what's going to happen is now you're going to have the federal government, which is unconstitutional, and really is unconstitutional. They're going to have to come in to prop up these municipalities who are upside down in their pensions, in their social programs that are literally bankrupt. And I think that is a lot larger of a story, versus even, the EU has their own problems. The European Union has their own problems with the mismanagement. But if you look at the United States in terms of the number of states that are financially insolvent, who's going to be on the hook for that? It's going to be the American taxpayers. That they're going to expand the debt massively to pay off those people. And what do we get from it? What does the middle class and the working poor get from it? Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing. And another thing is that the people that are paying for that are the masses of people that live in the states with the most populations. So that tax base is actually paying for those. And those states that you're saying that are insolvent, those are a lot of low income, low population states that are having most of those problems. And the masses are actually paying the taxes to, like you said, bail those, which is more than likely, if you were to look at constitutional law, it's unconstitutional for us to be having to pay for other states, fuck ups, and that's what's happened. The middle class working guy is going to get the shaft.
And at heart, I truly am an anarchist in terms of my political beliefs. I believe that participation in politics should be strictly voluntary. Most people spin that whole anarchy thing in a bad manner that, hey, this person's, they're violent and all that kind of stuff. It just means that they would rather have self-rule. That I'm in charge of myself, my family, and if I want to participate in government. Now, along the lines, the only difference that I have between my thoughts on that and the traditional anarcho-capitalist is that I believe that there has to be a segue into that. It's going to be very difficult to go to achieve basically a political philosophy of freedom, of libertarian type ideas, because there has to be some type of a model, some type of a change. And I think that we've achieved that breaking point. I think we've achieved that area where we can disrupt the current political class. And why I think I'm talking about politics in general as it relates to this is because, in case you haven't looked, they're still deciding the tax rates. They're still deciding where all the money is spent. They're still deciding that they would rather bail out foreign countries.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed.
So until we break down that paradigm, continue doing it, then no meaningful change is going to occur. So let's focus on disrupting the financial system, and let's just focus on disrupting the political class to achieve meaningful change for ourselves and our families.
Yeah, they count on us. My son has to come in here and say hi. Hi, buddy.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, buddy.
Say hi to everybody.
Hey.
What's up, buddy? Thanks for coming in.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's thank you. It's now I lost my train of thought. He came in here.
Disrupting the political class and the
yes, there you go. So what they've successfully, like you and I mean, you're obviously I'm not going to call you old, but you're
I turned
close.
50 this year, man. I turned 50 this year.
All right, so you are
the grays are there. Yeah, the grays are there.
So you're right there with me. So what they've successfully done is they've created this divide, and this is not a race or any type of real war. What it really is a class war. And they've pitted all of us against each other and it should be a class war of the powers that be that are screwing all of us. And not all of us that are down here. You know, it doesn't matter the color of our skins, the nature of our being and all that kind of stuff. It's really, they've pitted all of us against each other. Cause like you just said, nothing has changed. We both admit that. We both know that. You and I go out and we're going to go work and we're going to make our money. And I'm going to get taxed. I'm going to pay the same bullshit. Nothing's ever changed, no matter what guy is in the office or what party is ruling. I'm never getting ahead. In fact, I'm losing ground every year, no matter who's in power. My spending power, my family's livelihood is getting harder and harder and harder to maintain, no matter what they do, no matter who's on what side. And that is a problem. That is a problem because now they've got all of us thinking, oh, it's this side or that side. That's not what's happening here. And like you said, again, it's about those powers. How do we disrupt them? How do we stop? And the power is in our numbers, us all coming together and saying, okay, well, we are going to take our financial power back. And we're not going to use you guys. You don't want to you don't want to give us anything for putting our money in your bank anyway. We're going to find another way to spend it because you guys aren't good custodians of our money. So we should put it elsewhere in crypto, Cash App, whatever, you know, and use those as spending mediums versus, you know, the banks. Yeah. And that would be one way we can start to fight against them. You know, I mean, it's going to take subtle changes like that and a shift like that.
You know, that's the beautiful thing about our Constitution, and it really is a beautiful document. And the founding fathers who were able to envision this point where we currently are, I give them a lot of credit because within those systems, the Constitution allows us these things that are non-negotiable. Although the certain political class would rather what they deem modifying or saying that the Constitution is outdated. So there's different.
But it's a living document.
Yeah, it's a living document. So there's several different ways we can fight back against the federal overreach. And other ways is researching the Constitution of states, which most people don't know that exists. And if you look up the Constitution of states, what can occur is if we get enough states to say, hey, you know what? We're tired of this federal overreach. Yep. That's a great quote right there. Robert, you can rob the world. Absolutely. But basically what the Constitution of states does is it allows the governors of every state to call for this constitutional states where basically it can actually seize the power of the federal government and say, hey, look, you are not following the will of the people. You have overreached your powers in terms of a federal representation. The states no longer feel the federal government does that. And there's actual a website you can go to, people who are actually advocating for this at this time to achieve that. And the reason why they're doing that is because the federal government is so out of touch with the people. There's a huge disconnect. There's a huge disconnect there. I mean, when was the last time, guys, if we think about this, when was the last time through this economic downturn where small businesses are closing left and right and people are downsizing? I know in my business and the way we operate, we've been having to change and modify things. When is the last time we've had one conversation of saying, hey, you know what? Maybe we need to look at the federal government and cut out, either branches or cut out different, offices, organizations that we no longer need. We don't talk about that, but we should. And it's because that power structure that's maintained is done so at the federal level, and they feel as themselves as a higher class than what we are. So there's ways, there's solutions we can fight back. I mean, I don't want to be doom and gloom, but Mike, go ahead, man.
You just mentioned it right now. I don't want to lose my train of thought on it. You said when you said they don't pay attention to us, and there's a reason why they don't pay attention to us, because they don't have to pay attention to us, because they know, I mean, it's fact that the guy that wins the election is the guy who won the money bid. Whoever won in money 90% of the time, that person is going to win the election. If you beat your opponent out in gathering money, you're the one that's going to win the election. So what do? They spend all their time kowtowing to those guys down on K Street, getting as much money as they can so they can get reelected. Very, very rarely does the voice of the people reach their ears. Do their phones ring enough for them to actually move or make some action? It's always at the behest of that K Street money that they are making their moves and their actions. And we're not the ones that are the beneficiaries of that. It's the K Streeters that are the beneficiaries of it. It's the people with the money. So maybe, just maybe, if we can't take money out of it, maybe, just maybe, like DC said, we've got to find a way to set up a PAC to say, hey, if you don't do what we want you to do, then we're going to primary your ass, and we're going to bring our crypto candidate in, or we're going to bring our anarchist candidate in, or we're going to bring somebody in that's going to do the work of us. And we're going to continue to primary you guys until we get, what we want. And that could take a long time. I think it would be, getting a constitutional amendment is a whole nother fucking extremely hard process. Getting all of the states to, do what needs to be done to get a constitutional amendment. So taking the money out of politics is going to be a very, very difficult thing, but so would primarying other candidate. It's not an easy solution to solve. We are going to have to navigate for a long time and test out solutions. This whole rioting and getting in the streets and all that, I understand it gets people motivated. It shows people are upset. It shows that people want to come together and do something, but that's not the solution. That is the screaming and the yelling, but it's not the solution. The solution is we have to all come together with a plan in order to, face this thing. And the solutions are hard. They're very, very hard. And they're not going to be done by storming the Capitol. They're going to be done by legislation, or they're going to be done by us forcing monetary hands. We're seeing it now. Like some of the media outlets and things are getting forced into having to stop doing or supporting certain, products and this and that. Boycottings are starting to become, popular and actually make an effect in some media and things like that. So financial power is really the way that we're going to have to move it. And it's going to be hard. It's a forklift freaking lift. It's going to be a tough one.
Yeah. Very well said, brother. Very well said.
Well, thanks.
It was.
Everybody thinks I'm just a dirty old pirate with a salty ass. Actually got a little bit in the freaking noggin, huh, guys?
Brother, that was awesome. That was a whole lot of truth right there. And I know people over at Rogue News probably get tired of me saying it, but I think the power lies within the communities where yes. people live, and that's where you got to start. Forget about in terms of the federal government. Pay attention to what's happening within your local community. If you have kids in school,
start local. Yeah.
Start local. Focus on what's going on with your school board. What are they doing? What kind of policies are they implementing? Start your city council. Who's on your city council? And guess what? It may take enough of us to get involved, right? Where we say, you know what? Screw it. I'm tired. I'm going to put my name up on that board and do something different. That's where we can win is at the local level. And then likewise, the local level will basically roll up into the state representatives, the governorship, we did a pretty unique thing in the state that I live here in Indiana. We had a libertarian candidate. So our Republican governor instituted all these crazy lockdowns, the mandates, and continued basically doing them unconstitutionally. These executive actions that are taking place were never meant to be a unilateral decision that occurred multiple times, right? So these emergency powers were granted basically like on 30 days maximum, but to continue doing it over 6 months to 8 months, there should be like a legislative process for people who were elected in their communities to come up and say, hey, here's what we need to do. And for the most part, the governors have really, abandoned that process. So we had a libertarian candidate come on the board. Donald Rainwater did some really amazing things here in our state, really disrupted the political class to the point where the Republican Party here in my state tried to change the voting laws to prevent something happening like that again, where a libertarian candidate could make as much noise and gain as much votes as the libertarian candidate did. So again, and I don't want to mix my message here, but I think again, for everyone that's tuning in here today, is that, start at your local, focus on what's happening in your community. Make sure you're in tune to what's happening, because the noise and the static at the federal level is always going to be there. But what's happening within your local community, maybe even setting up a freedom cell network, to talk about hex and talk about disruptive technologies that are out there. And because you'd be surprised, 5 years ago, if I was sitting at the fire pit with neighbors, with family and friends, to mention cryptocurrency or whatever, people would be like, what the fuck? What the hell is he even talking about? But I was literally excited. This past summer, I went out there to my fire pit, and one of my neighbors was like, yeah, I bought some cryptocurrency the other day. I'm like, yes, we're winning. And it's just one person at a time, guys. It's one person at a time. And everyone tuning in here has some friends, has some influence that you can do to say, hey, wake up. Let me share this with you. And just start with one person at a time. That's right. All it takes.
It's one bull market at a time. They're easier to knock down in the bull market, baby. Boy, when this shit's expensive, they want the hell out of it. But when it's cheap, forget it. You're pulling teeth, baby. That shit's a scam. But when it's $46,000 per, I want some of that shit, man. Bring it to me. Where's my credit card? Where's my credit card? Here.
DC, do you have anything? I don't want to occupy all the talking time, but do you have anything to say about that? Because I have a perfect example to what RG just said.
I have so this just happened today. I had a cousin from Mexico send me a message in Spanish and told me, "Hey, Miguel, have you heard about some doggy coin?" In Spanish. He's talking about Dogecoin to me.
Pero pesos.
Pollitos de esa moneda de perritos.
That's awesome. Well, no, what I was going to state is RG once again, give you credit. You nailed it in terms of, what? I want to buy in on the high side. Yeah, that's me. I want to buy in at the high side because everyone else is doing it. And to your point, we saw the exact same thing with AMC and with what was the other company that almost went belly up? GameStop. We saw the same thing where, again, and I don't want to dog people at all, but people were like, well, I'm going to get in. I'm going to buy when the stock is overinflated, way high, because they felt that they were part of it. Well, no, you're not going to win at that point. For us guys that are rolling in, you don't want to buy in at the high side. You want to look for the opportunity that's presented. So again, Hex, a lot of the other different things that are out there, take your time, do your own research, right? Do your due diligence, and make the informed decision. But don't be a follower. Set your own trend, set your own pathway, and calculate risk on your side. I mean, I do it on a daily basis, and I encourage everyone else to do it. My risk and my association of what I feel comfortable with is different than DC and RG3, but RG. But most importantly, assess what that is and start somewhere, because it's that time. I just can't emphasize it enough to begin the process of getting out of harm's way through this transition period that we're navigating through.
Now here's what I have to say to that about the no financial advice and advising people on what to do and all that. I mean, we have these shows, we speak about finance, we talk about, so on one hand, we talk about all the evils that are out there, the things that are bad, the things that we've watched in our lifetimes go shitty on all of us. We watch the powers that be do the same thing to us, and they're all doing the same thing. They're putting their hands in our pockets and making right now. The United States, the American population, is more productive than it has ever been. There is more productivity in the American people right now than has ever been before. So for us to be making less and getting less ahead than we ever have is a shame, because Americans are productive. We do put out a lot of good work. So it's what I like to say about finance is that we're definitely in a different time.
Right.
I always tell everybody, be careful about how you view crypto and how you invest in crypto. Make sure that it's a very small portion of your portfolio, and that if you are, investing in crypto, that it's comfortable for you and that it's not going to wreck you. Don't let it wreck you. Don't put yourself in something, because we're talking about assets that have a fluctuation of 80%. They have 80-90% drops. If you can't handle that dip, you can't put yourself in that position.
That
every dime you put in, you've got to be able to handle that dip. You've got to be able to either ride that storm out where it's money that doesn't matter to you, or if it is money that matters to you, it's not going to hurt your daily life. Not going to stop you from paying your bills. Not going to stop you from, making the rent or putting food on your table for your kids and stuff. So don't overextend yourselves. And remember, you put crypto in its place. We're talking about an extremely volatile asset. Now, it has the potential to make a lot of money because of all the speculation, but it's dangerous, because if you can't stomach 80-90% dips, and you're looking for that money to be grabbed at a certain time, be very, very, very cautious about your crypto investments.
Yeah, I concur. That's great advice, and in terms of what we're witnessing, and just keep in mind that this institutional money that's rolling into some of these cryptos. These guys are all margin based, right? Like you and I,
and they're friggin' sharks. These motherfuckers got teeth, man. You guys got to realize you're swimming. Sharks have been put in the pool.
Right. If this institutional money can roll in, let's just say $1 million. If they can roll in $1 million at the drop of a dime and make 3 to 6% margin, they're going to do it every time.
And it takes us 3 weeks to get $500 through Coinbase. and Elon can drop a 1.5 billion in a minute, at the drop of a hat. Like, hey, makes a phone call and says, "Give me that much Bitcoin," and it shows up in his little wallet. I mean, come on. And how long? Look, I just tried to move a buddy's ETH. This ETH has been sitting in this wallet, guys, for 4 fucking years. 4 years it's been sitting in that wallet, and I finally got him to move it. He moved his ETH from Coinbase, and guess what these sons of bitches did? 72-hour hold on my man's ETH.
I can tell you
72-hour hold on his ETH that we pumped out on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. The exchanges are running a fractional reserve as well.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course they have been from day one.
So they look
again. It really falls back to margin and percentages, right? I mean, the margin and the gain on even if you benchmark, let's say 3%, a 3% on $1 million bet is very significant compared to $100, at 3%, and a lot of times that's what they're going to, and in case you haven't looked yet, for the most part, I like Elon. I think he seems like a pretty cool dude for the most part, but his companies aren't really making any money at all. Elon made a significant amount of his money off of the American taxpayers. We're the ones that footed the bill. He's
going to make more.
We're the one that footed the bill through the carbon tax credit. A lot of people forget that everyone that purchased a Tesla, for several years was giving a $1,000 or $3,000 tax credit. That tax credit just doesn't appear out of nowhere. That's you and I establishing that. So if we can achieve that and using that, I'm not trying to discredit Elon. I would never do that. I think he's a very sharp dude and everything that he's doing. But that social influence is such a powerful tool in terms of what they're able to move in terms of market, and the entire GameStop and AMC was a perfect example, and I applaud them for really trying to disrupt the institutional, the hedge funds, in terms of their shorts on these markets. But let's talk a moment about price discovery, because price discovery in this market is strictly something that does not exist. When you boil down and you take a look at the S&P or the Dow, very little of these companies actually make any profit. Correct. It's all about inflating the stock price to, once again, to pay the shareholder to pay the shareholders, and once again to balance their books. We witnessed it, like, Donald Trump through his tax cuts, well intended but misinformed. Those tax cuts, in terms of allowing corporations a significant amount of tax cuts, should have been like and I'm stealing this idea, full disclosure. If I borrow an idea, I share it. But this idea in regards to these tax credits should have been based upon a certain tangible goal. Like, in other words, if you bring 5,000 jobs back to the United States, you get to write off this much in taxes. If you close your foreign manufacturing facility, you bring it back to the U.S., you get to do this for taxes. We gave them a blank check in terms of tax cuts. And what did they do with that tax cuts? Boom. They turn around and use that money to buy their own shit. Yep. Bingo.
So CJ, here, see, I like that, because nobody talks about that shit. So why didn't we have a tax plan that goes, okay, we're going to take some of this. So instead of giving it all to these moneyed interests, why don't we take half of it and flat tax the whole fucking country, everybody, flat tax everybody, and then take the rest of it, and, like you said, incentivize tax cuts for companies that do good. So everybody's going to get a flat tax cut. Everybody on the board, across the board, rich or poor, everybody gets a flat tax percentage wise. And then the rest of it is going to go to good companies that act well and go out and build for the American people. That's a tax cut that actually works for everybody, versus I'm going to just give all of these motherfuckers the money. And what did they do with it? They took it as a gift and they went and bought their own shit back. And fucking stock market pumped up again when nothing's going on in the middle of a pandemic and all this other bullshit. Their fucking stock market skyrockets because of that shit.
Bingo. Yeah. My business partner and media guru in chief, V, the Grill Economist, I think he says it best when he says that, and don't take offense to this, anyone here, but like, in terms of America, the middle class are the suckers of America.
You got it.
Because we pay to keep the wealthy, and we pay to keep the poor. We're the suckers of all this. The 1%, they established their LLCs, their corporate structures to really eliminate all types of personal gains and personal taxes. And I'm not mad at them. I'm like, kudos to you. If you can pay 3% tax rate on $1 million in gains.
But I want it too.
I want it too, damn you.
Just because you guys can write the laws doesn't mean I shouldn't get it too.
Right. So like, arguably everyone should be forming their own LLC, right? Where you can do all these tax write-offs in terms of your internet expense, what you use in your home office in terms of your own business. There's several things that you can write off from an LLC and really only count any type of profit on your own W-2, basically, is any profit that you take from the LLC. And that's what they do. They shield themselves, from these tax rates. But, we're not allowed to know this. No one talks about this stuff, this information. But going back to your conversation in terms of the flat tax rate and how that could, potentially be, impacted, because they've drawn these scenarios. And I think where they're fixated upon is that, that tax revenue that's generated, that's from the flat tax, most people in general, when you look at that, the flat tax rate that would be established, the top wage earners in this country, because of their structure, they would be shielded from that. Now in certain states, like I think Arizona, Texas, there's several states that don't have a personal income tax. So that's something that each person has to assess in terms of what that tax rate, potentially be. I know I benefited from that when I lived in Arizona. They didn't have a state income tax like in many states. But you want to talk about like the most, if you want to talk about the most impactful thing that the federal government could do instead of all this stimulus. And then what the other thing that pisses me off is that they want to pretend like they're giving us our own money back. Like, oh,
that's the big one's on us right there.
That pisses me off when they're like, we're the government, I'm Nancy Pelosi, I'm Chuck Schumer, I'm Mitch McConnell, and we've decided to give every American $1,600 or $2,000. Fuck you, that's our money. You did not. You're not giving us your money. That's our money, you bastard. So don't pretend like it's anything different. So when I'm getting back to my original point, if you want to do anything to help the American taxpayers, is eliminate the federal tax, eliminate that, and allow more Americans to bring home more of their money through their hard work, versus the federal government, where we can take that money and we can invest it in Hex or in any other, whatever we see fit, right? Versus giving the federal government our tax dollars and allowing them to decide what corporation they decide to prop up or what country they're trying to influence politically to give them billions of dollars in taxpayer money.
Yeah, we need to have some bare minimums of what the Fed needs to be in charge of, like some highways, couple mountain ranges, some beaches, and dog parks.
Yeah.
Not that I like talking about politics, but here we are, about as close as politics.
Well, no, I mean, but then again, I think it does, and I hear people say that all the time. Like when I hear people say, I don't like talking politics, it frustrates me. Yeah. Because a lot of what we're evolving to and what happens is politically based, right? So
yeah.
So until
but there's a different thing in politics. There's this tribalism in politics now. I think that is what has happened and turned the discourse off, and it's turned into arguing, fighting, and black and white. And there is no discourse, because when it really comes down to it, is as working guys, as working people, as people that are watching our country or our planet do what it's doing, we all kind of feel the same. We want to take care of our families. We want to be able to live comfortable. We want to be free. We want to have our freedoms, and we want to, and we want to do it now. We're tired of being stomped on.
Yeah.
And we all feel the same way. We all feel the same way. And,
yeah. Amen. And that's one thing that we made it a goal this year with Rogue News in terms of the content that we're producing is to, listen, it doesn't take a whole lot of skill set to bitch and complain about everything that's broken and everything that's wrong, right? But what it does take a skill set is to talk about solutions, right? What are you going to do to talk about solutions? So we're going to work really hard this year to do solutions-based content to help people, to help humanity push forward through this time. And I hope people that venture over, to our platform, roguenews.com or our YouTube channel or we're on Twitch, DLive, you can catch us about anywhere, similar to what you're doing, RG, in terms of your content is to listen to the different ideas. And we can disagree, the cancel culture has got to stop. We can have disagreements, we can have arguments, but let's talk about what those arguments are and those ideas, and let's openly debate them and come up with a solution that works for us, because
the gray area,
because I feel more in tune with you guys, and probably 95%, 99% of the people that are tuning in here than I do the 1% class that is looking at us, that we're basically just there to work and provide for their model. And so that's why I want to work hard this year to really kind of disrupt that and share ideas of, that are people that are doing solution. We just did a 2 or 3 day, I think we caught it live for 3 days, but Derek Bros over at the Conscience Resistant Network. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Derek Bros, but I love Derek. He's very humble about his approach and the work that he does. And so he's the Conscious Resistant Network, and they just had a counter Davos economic reset forum. So the Davos group had their big, vision of the world reset that they did, and he did the world reset activation, where he talked about solutions based, all the different great ideas like Hex, a lot of the great solutions that are being the innovators that are disrupting the political class. So I just encourage your listeners, people that are tuning in, so we need to share those things. We need to share people that are actually out there, talking about solutions, creating ideas to help us move forward through this change. Because listen, I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the solutions to this, but maybe DC, maybe RG, you guys have your ideas of some things that we can do. Let's talk about those and let's share those. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, well, there's something I wanted to share that I have privy information to, and I'm seeing something in the horizon that's coming to our economy. And California is the 5th largest economy in the world, and we have a lot of industry out here. And I work directly within industry. And one of the things that I'm seeing right now, so Elon started moving SpaceX. SpaceX is moving, and they're leaving California and going to Texas. And like you said, there's reasons for it. There's money involved, and he's going over there, and he did this thing right as this began. Just 2 weeks ago, the first machines from SpaceX started packing up to go to Texas, and this is going to be about a 1.5-year process. And then a day ago, he decides he's going to buy 1.5 billion in Bitcoins. So there's positioning being made. Jeff Bezos quits Amazon and says, I'm going to go build a space program somewhere. So now all of a sudden we've got these multi-billionaires. We've got and no matter what you like or don't like, the party that be is in power right now, and they are going to try and do some type of an FDR style. We're going to throw as much money at this economy as we can to make everybody happy and want to vote for us again and keep us in power. So they're going to start throwing money out to the folks, and they're going to start this FDR style type of, we're probably going to see a space race. That's what I'm seeing develop. I've always said that, give us something to do and we'll do it. So they'll probably say it's time to go to Mars, and we're going to have all this industry built up around the Mars program, and they're going to dump a bunch of money into that. And then we're going to do roads and bridges and all that kind of stuff. And everybody's going to go to work and be happy. And then they're going to be able to lull us all back to sleep, put us back in the banks and put us back in our beds all nice and cozy, because they're going to start feeding us a little bit. Because here's the thing. We just talked about what we didn't want to see. But what if we did start getting some more money? What if we did start seeing the economy getting a little more robust? What if we did see, instead of people being poor and mad in the streets, they're putting rims and $100 tennis shoes on their kids, rims on the cars, $100 tennis shoes on the kids, and going on vacations for a week or two every year. Once they start doing that, they're going to calm everybody down, and then everybody's going to go back in their boxes, tuck back into bed, and let the banks take back over again so that they can slowly steal it all back away from us. That's what I see coming, to be honest.
That was bars, bro. That was bars.
Well, I mean, the writing's on the wall. You're going to see this. Your FDR style, we're going to save the fucking world is coming. It's coming, and you ain't going to do nothing about it because they've already been voted in, and their agenda is already set. That's what you're going to see. And it's going to lull everybody to sleep. They're going to hopium your asses right back to sleep, and you'll be letting the banks do everything all over again. And then they'll be able to rob us and steal from us again one night when we're all tucked away in our beds.
The Federal Reserve will have its cryptocurrency out by 2025 or 2026. That's when it's going to be launched. If you don't already know already, right? Coinbase has a stable coin called USDC. USDC is banked, and Coinbase is banked by JP Morgan. And JP Morgan's one of the Federal Reserve, he's got a seat on the Federal Reserve. So essentially what they're doing is they're practicing with the USDC, and they're slowly going to, you have to sign up to this digital card if you want to get the next round of stimulus money. And then that's how they're going to slowly bait the American people, because the American people, like us, we know, like, right, if we see that there's a bunch of stuff like going on with that, we're like, I'm not gonna take that money if it comes with strings attached to it. Screw that, right? I don't need it. You don't need it, right? None of us need it, but most other people will take it, and that's slow. And then that's something it's not gonna happen right now, but it went from a check to a card to eventually an app. That's how they're going to get. And just to go back to the point of what RG was saying, he's totally 100 damn percent. I wish I could cuss. Damn percent right, because all the stocks that have been flying high have all been Tesla, Nikola, which is it's all electric stocks and a battery stocks. Virgin Galactic, which is essentially just a company that sells basically space parts and everything. We're basically anything. If you had just been buying anything that Elon Musk or Chamath has been sort of investing into, you've done unbelievably well and stuff. And that's future stocks essentially that are like about the future, or if you got into maybe like cannabis essentially earlier on and stuff. And yeah, I mean, I totally believe that's exactly what's kind of going on. They are probably going to start increasing the thing, but here's also the problem too, is that a lot of those jobs, there's going to be quite a lot of Americans that won't even be able to get into those jobs, but hopefully they can create some kind of business that can just provide services for the people who have those jobs. That's how some of that money's going to trickle in, because not everyone is that mathematically inclined. You know?
Yeah, well, there'll be a lot of support industry. A lot of restaurants will have to, open back up to support all this industry is going to come. A lot of small job shops, support shops, plastics, metals, woods, all those types of things. Pallets will need to be made. You'll have pallet shops and all these things that'll need to be done just because of an industry emerging. And I'm sure they're going to do solar and wind and space is what it's going to probably be. And then roads and bridges, and all that's going to create a lot of infrastructure, and they're going to have to dump a bunch of shit ton of money into it. And that's what they'll do. And we'll pay the bill later and they'll steal it.
I mean, that
great. Go ahead, DC.
I was just saying something that you had said earlier about some of the small cities and stuff, how like basically all the small cities inside of the states and stuff are essentially just completely debt ridden, and they're almost bankrupt basically. And the reason for a lot of that as well, because I saw this locally, it's basically a bunch of these little politicians get into office and they essentially, borrow money on behalf of the city to then basically borrow that money to make a building project and then give that to their buddies locally, and they bid on it and overcharge the city for it, and then who cares? And then that's that's not really talked about as well, because locally it's obviously it's not, it's a small little $1 million job and stuff. People don't the government doesn't really care about it because it's just a small job. But locally there's a lot of thievery going on too, because it's essentially a bunch of these contracting companies in cahoots with each other saying like, hey,
that's been going on for
I know forever. But that's one. If you want to know why the states are so debt ridden, it's because of that. I mean, there's these little cliques. I mean, it's at all levels.
And a lot of it is if you look at the pension plans of a lot of these state employees, their pensions are completely like underwater right now. Whether it's Chicago or California, and how they think about that. Like, these people are pretty much out of the workforce and they're receiving these huge pension plans, and the tax revenue is not there to support it. But, and again, in regards to some of these industries that are being created, we've witnessed this game before. Like, think of the military industrial complex and the massive amount of taxpayer dollars that gets rolled into these companies. So we witnessed that with Raytheon, post Bush era, when the Bush doctrine was enrolled in regards to the foreign policy. These companies that would created the technology, the weaponry, again, it's basically paying for these companies and the special interest that takes place. We saw it with Obama in regards to energy, the green energy deal, when all of these, what was that big Solyndra, the company that received like billions of dollars of taxpayer money, and like they took the money and they ran with it, and then the company folded within 5 years. We witness this time and time again. Now, whether the space thing is kind of the same thing in regards to SpaceX, I believe that I read too that I think Biden just canceled the entire SpaceX contract for whatever reason. I fact check me on that. Someone look that up, whether Biden did that. But what I've been led to believe in regards to the pursuit for space is more so looking for these rare minerals that may exist. And I cannot remember which podcast that I listened to on, but apparently there's some energy rich mineral on the moon that literally a few truckloads of this mineral mined and brought back to the earth could literally like power a city for several years. So I think that it's a monetary incentive to for space exploration to do these things. It's not the matter of goodwill or some people thinking that they're planning to vacate Earth, and look for things. I think it's just a matter of like, okay, well, if we've created so much wealth extraction where, how high is the stock market really going to go, right? In terms of they're hiding inflation in the market.
Yeah.
And now you have, like, for example, Elon Musk is saying, hey, you know what? I'm not so confident that the market's going to do so well. I need to diverse my holdings and put 1.5 billion in Bitcoin. I think that's a clear indicator when we're seeing financial institutions, companies, getting outside of the dollar and doing these things, these attempts to do that. But as it relates to you and I and to Main Street, I think it really ties back to, in terms of that model that's being achieved, where you look, for example, where these they're going to look at the new Green Deal, right? That's probably going to be the next big thing to unfold. That's going to be the next big thing where they say, hey, let's focus on the environment. Let's focus. And I know that there is a lot, like, legitimately, there's a lot of things that we can do. We need to clean up our food supply. We need to stop with the glyphosate and overspraying all of our fields. We need to clean up our food supply. Those are some things that we should be looking at. And if our food supply is GMO, we should label that this food is GMO. But let's start with cleaning our food supply before we're like worrying about, like, basically greening a building where we're going to spend $1 million to convert a building where it's a lot more energy efficient and all that, which is good stuff to do. But let's not do that at the expense of the American taxpayer. Let's figure out a way to begin the process of doing that within the local community. There's nothing that frustrates me more when I see a perfectly good building, right, that's probably less than 10 years old, and somebody comes in, instead of figuring out solutions for that building and renovating and figuring out a way to make it, they will tear that entire building down. They'll tear that entire structure down.
Build
and build something new. It's like, wait a minute, what just happened here? Could that building not have been used for something different, or could you not have modified that? So I think it's going to be an attempt. I think that again, that green New Deal is just going to be another huge, wealth extraction opportunity to create a new class of millionaires and billionaires, on this idea of the environment, and they'll sell it that way. And most people will buy into it. So, but I don't want to get too far in terms of our discussion. And
I want to bring it back around to Hex real quick. So in case you have any questions, we can talk about those. We've talked an hour around Hex, and we haven't really talked about Hex. And I'd like to open that conversation about the macroeconomics of what's happening in crypto right now, which is all this institutional money. Now, we're seeing something a little bit different right now, because we're seeing players like Elon Musk bring in value that's probably going to sit. More than likely, he's probably not going to pull it out. It's going to come in here and stay here. That's just, it's possible he could pull it, of course. But we've got all this institutional money. Now, when I look at market cap for crypto, we went from, in the last year and a half or so, we went from about 350 billion, 400 billion, right around there. Now we're sitting at over $1 trillion. Where are we at? $1.2 trillion, $1.1 trillion, $1.2 trillion, something like that. What is
we're at 1.3 trillion.
1.3 trillion. Okay, so let's put that in perspective, everybody. When the CMEs in 2017 popped Bitcoin in the ass and it dumped, we went up to 800 or 900 billion, and then we dropped back down to 200 something.
Yeah.
So all that financial energy came. After they got done playing with it, it left. There's nothing new under the sun. Everything comes in cycles. I want everybody to understand what I'm saying there. Look at what history has brought us, and look at where we sit today. We are sitting at $1.3 trillion in market cap in the crypto space. A lot of it is institutional monies. The CMEs just launched for Ethereum, what, day before yesterday?
Yeah. Yep.
So the ball is in motion. Everything has started to happen again. Bitcoin has pumped. And I don't know how much further this can go or how much further it will go or if it's going to stop anytime soon. But I'm just warning everybody that if the market crashes, you're going to see those billions exit and put us back down to a sensible level. We're going to retrace and we're going to find a level, and that's going to be it. And I don't know what that level looks like or what it is, but it's a market cycle. That's what we're looking at right now. Does it have more room to go? I don't know. There's a lot of sideline money out there that can come into crypto. They played with it once. They're back now. And there is a lot of money on the sidelines out there. Like we were just talking about, those trillions of dollars in those companies that have, rebought their own stocks and has grown. Stock market is overinflated. And they might be looking for an exit strategy. And this might be it, because where does that kind of money come from? It comes from one place or another. It doesn't just appear, it's coming from those institutions, and they're getting ready to make a play. And if you're in it and you're making plays in it, then you could be wrecked. Here's the beautiful thing about Hex as a hedge into all of that. So Hex has been doing its own thing. It hasn't been, we know where Hex is right now. We know that we just got done with a launch. We know that we just saw it retrace and find its level after the pump from Big Payday. And we've been going sideways and staying that way. And we've been watching people exit their positions because they had staked before this big. We have I don't know if you know, CJ, but we have a big stake that's coming due March 15th. There is a 1.5 billion Hex stake coming out on March 15th.
Yep.
And it's a whale that has been a good player in Hex. It's staked out very far. So it looks like it's probably making a play to come out and restake. It would wreck itself if it tried to exit the position in and of itself, more than likely. So we're all waiting to kind of see what it did. But a lot of people front ran that, and they staked before that stake, right? So they're like, I'm going to get out before that stake comes out. Well, what's happening is a big shakeout right now. So all those stakes that are coming due are shaken out, and Hex, though, has been going sideways. It hasn't dipped. We peaked at close to 2 pennies right at Big Payday, and then we dipped down to all the way down to a third of a penny, I think, or 3/10 of a penny. Sorry, 3/10 of a penny.
Yeah.
And then we marked back up, and it walked at a penny. It's been walking at a penny, 0.6 of a penny. To 0.9, right around a penny there. And it's been doing that for a couple months now. And even during this big bull run, Hex has been stable and doing its own thing. So that's showing me that it's decorrelated from what's going on out there, that it's marching to its own drum. But any small influx of capital coming into Hex can make it move very quickly because the liquidity is low right now. So liquidity in the main exchange is, I don't even know. I couldn't tell you what the number is, but it is very low. I think just a couple of $1 million buy would shoot us up to the 5 cent range. It wouldn't take it much to get us up to 5 cents. So the first big market buy in Hex can literally shoot it up to 5 and then create a lot of FOMO power for the coin itself. Wow. And then even if this thing did crash, if everything did crash, where is the safest place to put your crypto money but into something that's actually going to be gaining interest? So Hex is a very nice play after a big crash and a bear market. In fact, we did our biggest gains and our biggest moves in the bear market. Hex was birthed in the bear market and did all of its up action and all of its rocket to stardom and proved itself during a bear market. This bull run just started right after Hex was already birthed. We were ready to go. So I think that Hex is going to be the ultimate hedge against the bear market when the crypto bear market does come. We'll probably pump.
Yeah, sir. It doesn't take much economic energy to really move Hex, and that's kind of the beautiful thing, because the whole system incentivizes you to essentially purchase your Hex and then essentially create yourself sort of an income ladder out to drip out and to drip out Hex into the future, and then make that sort of a recurring income over time. That's kind of the big nature of like a C, because you were in the financial services, so you know what a CD ladder is basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, CJ, we go long streams here. I don't want to keep you too much longer than you want to stay. Let me know whenever go ahead. And,
no, hey, listen, if I wasn't enjoying conversation, I wouldn't still be here. No, this is good stuff. So yeah, I mean, and again, I think listen, what I was kind of assessed as to in terms of individuals, because I think that's where it falls back to is individuals making good decisions upon them. And if you're going to hedge into Bitcoin, which is I personally don't feel comfortable, nor do I want to get caught up in that game. You do not want to fall victim and fall in when when that plug is pulled. But if you're looking for a buy-in that is an ideal price point for buy-in to get started, Hex may be right for you. It may be the right idea to jump in and say, hey, you know what? I'm not gonna buy a certificate deposit at a bank. I'm not gonna keep my savings account there because I'm not making pennies on the dollar. But instead, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna jump out and I'm gonna put some money here because that's something I want to do. But I think it's that time for each individual to kind of make that decision. And what you guys are providing is a solution to that. You don't have to have necessarily the hundreds and thousands of dollars to buy in, where some people get hesitant, and I don't blame them. I mean, we're talking about an ideal market and climate where people are struggling to put food on the table or decide where their disposable income is going. So Hex provides that buy-in, which is a very reasonable price structure to get in, to get involved and assess it from there. And I think each individual has to do that. So again, in terms of the market and the dynamics, my opinion is that I'm trying to avoid. I don't want to be caught in harm's way. And if you take a look at some of the buy-in that's associated with some of these other tokens, cryptocurrencies that are there, do so at your own risk, right? But do not get caught in harm's way when these institutional investors decide to pull the plug and say we're happy with the margin that we gain, because and I sound like a broker record saying this, but they can take 5 or 6% margin gain and call it a day on $1 million or $2 million versus $500 of what we can do. They can make a whole lot more money. So if you're buying in and you're caught in that system and you buy in at this market price, whether it's 25 or 30K, whatever it is, and you do that, you potentially could be in jeopardy. And so I would just recommend to make a good decision, an informed decision. Do your own research, do your own due diligence, which is anything good a person should do, and navigate from there.
Yep. I agree. Good advice. All right. There was something on my mind that I wanted to bring up, and now I can't quite remember what it was. I need to take more CBD, right? I need to be.
Well, I think we should jump into that, because I think that ties right back in terms of health, and I say this quite enough. Like I it was probably like 5 or 7 years where I really neglected my own health, and this past year and a half, I've made it a goal. In fact, since January 1, I've only missed the gym one time this year, and that was yesterday. I've been in the gym every day this year. Yesterday, I was traveling with work, business related this weekend, and didn't see my family a whole lot. And I got home late, Sunday from my trip. And I'm like, you know what? I can take an hour and a half, go to the gym, whatever. But instead, I decided to spend that time with my family. It was that important. But it just falls back to that. You can have all the assets that you want. You can have all the wealth that you want. But you really should, through this time period that we're navigating through, is to focus on your own health as the individual. Because I think that's the best investment that you can make is on your own health. And more importantly, preventive medicine, and it really upsets me when I see so many people who have either harmed themselves or did something through this process that has really affected them. And so that's what I'm advocating for, is to every person to assess that, to say, hey, you know what, my individual health is far more important, to me. So I'm going to spend some time and invest on myself. And that can come in the many shapes and forms in terms of preventive medicine or preventive health care. And I think that for some of those people who are looking for different solutions outside of traditional medicine, cannabidiol and including CBD and THC could do that. So it's just something that I advocate for, not just because I'm in the industry, just because I've seen it, go this distance and this far, because I was in pharmaceutical industry for so many years and witnessing, how that happens. So yeah, so I'm a big believer in natural health care, everything from the food that you intake to your daily exercise. And it doesn't have to be like, don't think it has to be some big ordeal where, it could be something as simple as going for a brisk walk in the morning or going for a daily walk.
You got to move. Yeah. You got to
start simple and work your workout from there. But, take some time and to invest in your own health, because trust me, the controllers and what they want to do to us as far as humanity is the last thing that they want is fighting for our own natural health care and our own natural immune system that we all have, that we're born with, versus the pharmaceuticals, the some of the other things that they want us to do to really pollute these things. I think it's just that important for everyone to hear that conversation.
Yeah, it's funny because that's one of our tenets is health here at Hex, because we do think long term, we think future, our stakes are long, and we want our lives to be long. And even the founder of Hex is very into. He's got a book out called Survive Through Science. It's called Survive is his, and his goal in life is to actually help to fund an organization that's going to go out and try and scientifically do things that are going to help us to live longer. So it's scientific bio research is what he wants to get involved in. Health research, just to help save people's lives. He thinks that, instead of doing all of these stupid things, going to space and doing all these other things, we should be focused on building technologies that are going to save us from heart disease and cancer, the things that are going to kill us anyway. And you're right that, what we have right now is our health and well-being. And, and talking about things like the endocannabinoid system, and what CBD means to that, and how activating that, because it's been taken out of our lives. That's a whole nother subject. We can talk for 2 hours on how CBD has been taken from us, and it's been taken out of our food. It's been taken out of our supply, because people don't realize that, you need CBD to function. Your body actually creates it, but at very small levels, and flooding your system with it only just takes that. Think of your endocannabinoid system as a bunch of hoses that are all scribbled up that can't do anything because they don't have enough CBD. They don't have enough cannabidiol in them. And when you start flooding your system with that CBD, the different types of it, it pumps back up, and your systems start working better. Fogs start clearing from your mind. All kinds of things start happening when that endocannabinoid system gets reactivated. But what the powers that be have done, and literally, folks, this is another one of those money things where they took cannabis away from us. And they took hemp away from us, which was in altogether is a crime. And that has to do with the Hearst family and their paper industry and the trees that they had bought that they wanted to cut down to make pulp, to make paper, to put their magazines out. And they didn't want hemp because hemp was the evil thing that was going to destroy their industry. So, the Hearst family was the cause of you not having hemp. Now, what's beautiful about hemp that I know is that when you grow that shit, it grows like a weed. It is a weed. It grows like crazy. So in the off season, farmers liked using it, and the cannabinoid oils from that would fall off of it and into the soil and refurnish the soil. And then they'd for some reason, every time they put the plants back in, the corn, the beets, the potatoes, everything grew better because there was cannabinoids in it. And it was in all of our food. Well, now it's in none of our food. We don't have any cannabinoids anymore. So we unfortunately, we've got to grow it, extract it, and put it in to something that we could put in our body. And that's obviously what you're doing, right? Is that is your process that they go through like a CO2 process and is it, what kind of CBD is it?
Yeah. So a few different perspectives, and you nailed it. I think in terms of, our bodies and our healing, most people don't necessarily assess that the inflammation in our bodies is what creates a lot of our issues, a lot of our problems. And with CBD and cannabidiol, it helps significantly in many processes of our bodies. So what we do is really try to find a customized way of people introducing CBD into our system in various components, whether it's a sublingual, in other words, like an under the tongue type, direct impact, and getting people to understand the bioavailability of CBD. So when you bring in a CBD into your system, like if you do a sublingual or an oil or something like that, your body's going to process a certain amount of that CBD. And sometimes it's restricted, and that's why the delivery is so important. Whether it's different products, whether it's vaping CBD, and I've for so many times I've listened to different stories of people saying, "Hey, I started using CBD because of this reason," and it could be a topical, like the whole topical part of CBD is something that is still to be discussed with people with either arthritis or some other types of ailment. And applying a strong topical to that specific area is beneficial. So again, we introduce products that are, that taste very good. It's more of I like to list my company more as a micro brew versus the Budweiser or the massive type product. So we specialize in products, whether it's coffee or a sublingual product. We do a coconut oil that's very clean.
So let me jump in on that real quick before we get started. So I want to hear all about this and what your company or what your product is that you guys offer. And I don't mind chilling on here. That's fine because I love health products. But here's what concerns me about CBD. Now, I know the process. I live in California. As soon as licensing came available, I applied. I was working on building a business based around CBD, oils processing. I was using a CO2 process, but I know what it does. I went and watched and learned how my machines were going to work. And when I saw that process, something made me think. So that process is very thorough. It takes everything out of that plant. So when you run it through the machine, a CO2 process extracts everything from that plant. So everything that plant ingested or was sprayed on it is now in that oil. And that's what concerns me about the CBD out there today. There's a lot of cheap CBDs. There's a lot of CBD that have come in from Europe. There are a lot of CBDs that had no regulations on how they were grown. And before I say anything about a CBD product, I want everybody to be aware that you really need to understand what type of product you're taking, because a lot of people might want to take CBD because they have cancer or they have liver problems or they have kidney problems or they have problems. And if they start ingesting things that have pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, germicides, all this other crap that's in them, and fertilizers on top of all that, then they're ingesting those oils and those things. And I know that there are testing processes to make sure that those things aren't in there. But I know that the CO2 process is very, very thorough, and it takes everything out of that plant and puts it into your oil. And there's really no way of completely separating that stuff out. So what is your guys' process? What type of organics do you use?
So RG, you nailed it. And I think that's where, people have to be very careful. So whatever product manufacturers that are out there, I think that's a very easy question that any product that's a finished product should be able to answer. Is that, where's your hemp farm? Where is your hemp extracted? And you can go to the USDA. Did I say that right? USDA, the website, and there is a certified organic database, and every grower in terms of hemp, every processor as it relates to hemp, has to process a very stringent set of protocols to establish an organic certification.
Another good thing the government does, by the way, just another one of those things it does do.
we source our CBD, our oil. If we decide to use an isolate for whatever particular reason, most because of taste, we source from a USDA certified organic approved source, and our CBD is sourced from the United States.
Cool.
I will not buy CBD from a bulk type of wholesaler, and the reason why I choose not to do that is because a lot of the times they cannot answer you where that farm came from. They can't answer that. So therefore, you may be getting the European import of CBD. You may even be getting it from China. So you don't know the overspray. Exactly. You don't know the chemical residue that perhaps could be there in that CBD. And for the most part, here in the United States, we have some great farms. We have some beautiful farms of people here in the United States. There's no reason that we should be sourcing our CBD from foreign companies,
and because they can't process. So when they legalized hemp and they allowed farmers to farm it, they all said, okay, right on. And farmers do what farmers do. They grew that shit, and they grew a bunch of that shit. And they said, okay, we grew it. Now what? Well, they didn't have any processing plants, and there wasn't enough CBD oil makers, and there was no plastics manufacturers or hempcrete makers that can take all that supply so that it rotted in the fields.
Bingo. So you should be able to, when you go to that USDA site and when you look at that database, not only should you be able to see the farm that's certified organic, but what you just said, RG, is important too. You should be able to see the processor. Yeah. And both steps is a certification for organic certification to ensure not only how the hemp gets there, but how you process it, because you have to be
I think that'll be another big emerging industry. I think hemp will be another big emerging industry once we start to process properly.
It is, and it's probably for another show. But I think when you look at hemp in general, I think you could potentially see, if you want to talk about the industrialization of America.
Yeah.
And look at the opportunity that's there for people that are tuning in this broadcast. Hemp provides a vehicle that literally could, touch base upon so many different industries, whether it's
plastics industry, concrete industry, you name
fuels, you name it.
Building material.
It's there. And the really cool thing is that we can do this individually. We don't necessarily have to have the big financial institutions to come in to back this. This could be a people's driven type effort to make a difference. I mean, the amount of resources and the things that are there in this industry, and I just recommend, before you start planting hemp or do anything like that, to really assess the end goal, because I get contacted daily by hemp producers, and they're like, buy our hemp and do this, and here's what we want to do. And the reason why they contact us is because we have finished products. We have finished products that we're actually manufacturing and we're selling to the community. that are truly helping people. I love the reviews. Like, most people are very unfamiliar with Delta 8 THC and Delta
there's
8.
a lot of different there's a lot of different endocannabinoids, or there's a lot of different
bingo. The way the endocannabinoid system works. So again, I mean, we can probably save it for like an entire other conversation, because
here's what I'd like to do.
Yeah, go for it.
That we've never shilled a product on here before, so I don't want to shill a product, but what I would like to do is send people to your stream and let them hear about it there. And,
I don't want to either, because I'm always very cautious of whenever I hear that. So that's why I didn't list any names in terms of the certified organic and all that. And because I just don't think it does, if you're going to plug a product or whatever, then it should be listed that, hey, we're going to talk about this company for this reason and the good things that they're doing. And out of respect for your audience and so forth, we're talking about disruptive efforts that we can take to the banking system in terms of HEX, the cryptocurrencies, in terms of political solutions, and I just
in the health industry. Take care of ourselves.
I just really want, like I said, I think we could all just benefit from, turning off our TVs, eliminating the disinformation, that's out there, and really focus on just like a people driven conversations. And that's what we're doing. I mean, I looked up at the time and we've been going for like 2 hours, and I feel like it's been 30 minutes. I feel like we've been chatting for 30 minutes. So I love these conversations, and it's dangerous because I could probably go another 2 hours, but I know I shouldn't.
We've limited our Monday and Wednesday shows to a 2 hour, because we used to do 4 and 6 hour streams. We literally did 4 and 6 hours. And we couldn't do it anymore. We just like, hey,
I would like RG, I would like to share my email address for your listeners. So
your channel and your email address.
So my email address is CJ, CJ it's up there, CJ@roguenews.com. And if you have any questions, please bookmark and follow us. We are looking for solutions-based content. Maybe you're doing something individually to help, humanity to navigate through this. So if you're doing something different or you have ideas, everything, shoot me an email, because we're going to focus this year on solutions-based content to help us all navigate through this economic storm that we're going through, because we're in this together. We're in this together. So we need to work harder to build bridges instead of walls. And that's why I was glad to hear you say at the beginning, RG, that, whether you're in Bitcoin or you're whatever crypto you're in, whatever, let's talk about these things. And if we have differences in opinions, let's debate those things. Let's put them in a public platform to talk about them and inform and educate people in general, so we can help each other. So
because we'll find we have more in common than we have disagreement.
Awesome, brother. Yes, completely.
So I'll be emailing you, CJ. That's for sure.
And everybody, you can actually follow CJ on the Twitters. He's at producer CJ1. Go ahead and follow him there. And CJ's turned into a Hexican. He's actually a Hexican. He's been hexified, right?
I've been hexified. I am there, and like I said, we're gonna reverse the situation and have you guys on our stream and our broadcast. And like I said, I think I and I mean this wholeheartedly. Like, as we navigate through this economic reset and this turmoil that's occurring, it truly is us versus them. So let's find ways to come up with solutions. Let's come up with ways to help each other. And we may have differences of opinion. That's perfectly fine. But let's not evolve to the cancel culture, the shutdown culture. I will never shut down comments in any of my streams, because I welcome discernment. I welcome people challenging the status quo, because we get better when we have people that are answering or asking those types of questions. So I really enjoyed tonight, and kudos to you, RG, and also you, DC, and we will get you guys on our stream here pretty soon, and happy to join anytime that you guys want me back on.
Right on, CJ. Thanks for coming, man. And hey, hang out for a quick second if you got a few minutes. Hang out. We're just put you in the green room for a minute.
Gotcha. Go for it.
All right, everybody. We'll see you guys. What are we? We'll see everybody on Wednesday. No, yeah, Wednesday. I think we have another guest on Wednesday. We shall see. I think there's a Fudster wants to come in, but we'll see about that. I don't even know if I want that fuck coming in here. We'll see. All right, everybody. Have a great freaking Monday, Tuesday night, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Don't forget tomorrow morning for all of you Australian, Asian, European communities, you've got Kinetics in the morning with a cup of coffee and some Hex. So check him out on Discourse Syndicate, and we will see you guys all on Wednesday night. Later days.
Stake your hex 4x5 today. Stake your hex every single day.